One of my all-time favorite videos I've ever made on this channel is looking at some of the most iconic first boots in Hell's Kitchen history, as again, it truly is something to see just how bad a chef can be in a span of 1 or 2 episodes. However, I haven't had a chance to talk about other mediocre, or dare I say, decent first boots, and with one of my most requested videos being a first boot ranking, I figured I'd do that today. So what's going on, guys? I'm FlynnMasters, and for today, I'll be ranking all 22 first boots in Hell's Kitchen history. One caveat is that I won't be considering Kenneth and Ava as first boots, as even though they were eliminated first, it's tough to compare them to everyone else on the list since they all had to go through service, so Elliot and Matthew will take their spots instead. Be sure to subscribe and like to support the channel, and with that, let's rank the first boots of Hell's Kitchen.
Bloody hell, here I go again.
The worst first boot in Hell's Kitchen history may just as well be the worst chef in all of Hell's Kitchen when you objectively look at it. As while you can argue other chefs on this list and in general have had worse overall performances, only one chef has failed to make it past the first dinner service, with that being Louis from season 6. And while you could say he isn't as bad as other first boots and was only booted mid-service to give Robert a second chance, the facts are the facts, and I feel I have no choice but to put Louis as the worst first boot in Hell's Kitchen history.
Look! What the f is this? Oh, back there! Get out! Yes, get your bags packed.
Can I help? Can I help in the kitchen?
Yeah, you can help me. Oh, get out!
If I ever do a worst chef of all time ranking, I truly think I would have this person at the bottom, with that being Matthew from Young Guns. Again, unlike other first boots on the list, not only did he have a terrible signature dish and awful dinner service, but he also had an abysmal punishment patch dish that honestly should have got him eliminated over Ava. Again, I really wouldn't put him at the bottom, but at least he did indeed make it to the elimination ceremony, even if Ramsay didn't give him much of a chance to plead his case.
Matthew, at Signature Dish, you delivered me a dish full of Then, in the alcohol challenge, you served me a raw chicken. Tonight, you served me raw lamb. Worst of all, your attitude sucks. I'm not listening to your Give me your jacket. Next time you decide to cook protein, use it properly. Good night.
Arguably the most iconic first boot in Hell's Kitchen comes in at number 20, with that being 22-year-old executive chef Tavon. And yeah, we all know the story by now, as a big reason why Tavon is memed so much is due to just how bad his one episode stint was in Hell's Kitchen, especially service, as he not only failed on his station, but screwed over the fish station as well by mutilating those scallops, essentially single-handedly costing the blue team the win.
Someone else did my pasta.
Who sliced the scallops? Chef, ask a question.
I did.
Come here, you executive chef. Expensive hand-dyed scallops. Look, you sabotaged them. You sliced all them. We haven't even served one table. They're all
At number 19 is Scott from season 18, another chef I've talked about multiple times on the channel, as he is one of the biggest donkeys in modern day Hell's Kitchen. While he essentially did nothing right, I just simply think the chefs below him were even more pathetic than him all around, and thus, he lands here at number 19.
Hey, Donut, why are you cooking the shrimp?
Pardon?
You'd already done the order. It's gone.
Tableside.
Your name is Scott. Scott Lee is doing tableside. Tableside means it's sat next to the table.
Yes, chef. This is so embarrassing.
To round out the bottom 5, at number 18 is the donkey herself, Polly from season 2. Now, while her signature dish is an all-time bad one, and she got kicked off her station during service, I do think that ironically saves her when it comes to this first boot ranking, as she simply didn't get the chance to make as many mistakes as the chefs below her, or even above her. But yeah, I've always said, Polly is the epitome of a first boot, as she had no chance to begin with, was a complete donkey, and essentially did nothing right during her 1 episode run.
We're going to hell and back each and every week to make sure we find the right person. Polly, no chance.
You could argue this next chef should be just above Matthew simply due to how similar their runs are, but at number 17, I have Elliot for season 19. And yeah, in a very similar case to Matthew, Elliot had a bad signature dish, a bad punishment pass dish, and a poor service. However, what puts him a couple spots higher than not only Matthew, but the other chefs below him, is he was nowhere near as much of a train wreck despite still being pretty horrendous. His signature dish was a 2 instead of a 1. He clearly deserved to survive the elimination challenge over Kenneth, while Matthew was very questionable. And he didn't really make any service mistakes, he was just simply super aloof during service. So again, there is a lot of negatives to Elliot. Heck, you could even knock him for essentially quitting at the nomination ceremony, but he's not quite bottom tier when it comes to a first boot.
Are you a better chef than Drew? Yes or no?
The answer is no, chef.
Give me your jacket. I didn't have to eliminate a chef. I had to eliminate Elliot.
At number 16 is the most recent First Boots in Tad. And yeah, another modern day chef that's very low. Really funny that the First Boots remain really bad despite the overall talents getting better. But yes, Tad did his best imitation of Louis during his time in Hell's Kitchen, serving a terrible sausage and biscuit dish, and screwing over the kitchen after his performance on the meats. The thing that keeps him above Elliot is that at least he didn't have a bad punishment pass dish, or maybe he did, but since Ramsay didn't bother with the eliminations this season, there was no need to check. So yeah, a pretty fun modern day donkey is Tad, and he lands here at number 16.
I'm actually a professional Quidditch player.
Oh, God.
What?
Quidditch player, like from Harry Potter.
Ain't no way.
Let me get this right. You run around with a broom between your legs holding a ball.
Yep.
The dish, what are you cooking? What is this?
So this is homemade biscuits with a sausage gravy and a strawberry lemon jam underneath.
Homemade biscuits?
Yes, chef.
This is getting weirder and weirder. Oh my God. It looks like vomit.
I really debated on where I should put this next chef, as there is a potential massive positive to him, but in the end, I decided to put JP at number 15. I think one of the things that makes him so bad is his signature dish, arguably producing the worst one out of all the First Boots, as Ramsay even threatened to eliminate him due to serving a dish so bad. But the thing about JP is while yes he had a bad service, many other chefs did as well on the blue team that night, and from the looks of it, it was a close vote between the 4 chefs of Aaron, JP, JR, and Fernando, with it seeming that Aaron would have indeed been the boot had JP owned up to his bad service. In the end though, I do think this was the correct decision, as Fish Station was the main problem that night, and thus, JP lands here at number 15.
The fish is dry.
Potatoes are solid, and that looks like something out of the 1970s. I'm struggling whether to let you come to Hell's Kitchen or just send you home.
At number 14 is another iconic First Boot within Hell's Kitchen, with that being Sebastian. I could see the argument that he should be higher, as one could argue that he was eliminated mostly due to mental error as opposed to cooking, but I do think he was still going home had he not said Zacky Wacky, as his performance on the apps essentially is what caused Ramsay to go crazy to service. Not to mention, he made his signature dish so bad that he literally tried to hide it from Ramsay. So while Seabass is iconic, he is still pretty low here at number 14.
Zacky,
We got
talk to me.
halibut, one brazino.
Zacky Wacky.
Zacky Wacky.
Chef Zach.
Hey, look at me. Hey, look. Is this a joke?
No, chef.
Yeah, do me a favor. Get out.
Yes, chef.
Off, will you?
Sebastian tried to be funny, but it was his cooking that was the joke.
We have one of the few forgettable First Boots to talk about now in Lisa from season 8. And yeah, when the other nominees up for elimination that night are Raj, Sabrina, and Trev, literally 3 of the biggest characters in Hell's Kitchen history, you're gonna be forgotten about. It's not like Lisa was a train wreck by any means, she just simply had a bad signature dish and poor service, which was amplified by the fact that she was very slow, and she really had no chance of surviving over the other big characters. Not awful, not top tier, so she lands here at number 13.
Lisa, we have more scallops going?
Yeah, they're going down right now.
Is your pan hot that you just threw them in?
I didn't throw them in yet.
She's so slow. She moves like a turtle. They're not in the pan right now?
What? Oh, it's right here. Oh, mingada, mingada, mingada.
Have you realised, Lisa, why there's no colour on your scallops yet?
Because I keep turning them.
And the pan's not hot enough.
Okay, chef.
This might be my most controversial take on the list having this person so high, but number 12, I have season 14's Krissa. Now here's the thing when it comes to Krissa. Yeah, she's one of the biggest donkeys to ever grace the show, and served one of the worst signature dishes of all time, but it's not like she had a bad service or made a bunch of mistakes. She was just so clueless in the kitchen that Ramsay threw her out. Now, while some people could argue that's even more pathetic than the chefs I have below her who got eliminated for cooking mistakes, I simply think getting eliminated for being clueless isn't that bad compared to other First Boots, but I obviously can't have her much higher than number 12.
I just want to run out of here.
What do you mean you want to run out of here?
I'm just terrified.
Krissa,
It's scaring
Krissa,
me.
there's no terrified in this.
Bring your A game. Focus, concentrate. Krissa, you all right?
I needed to go to the bathroom for dinner service.
Would any of you mind if Krissa disappears to the bathroom before she pees her knickers? Okay, Krissa, off you go.
That's so embarrassing.
Probably the most forgettable First Boot in Hell's Kitchen history is Stacy, and due to that, I landed here in the mid-range at number 11. Her signature dish wasn't good, but not as bad as the others, and while she would get kicked out due to her performance on the fish, I don't think that's as bad as Jamie and Fran both struggling on the apps together. I will say though, I still think she deserved the boot, but nonetheless, while there are far worse First Boots, there's plenty of others that have had much bigger standouts, which is why she lands here at number 11.
Now you want 5 more minutes for the salmon.
3 minutes.
How long?
3 minutes?
3 minutes now. Why are you jumping all over the place? Tell me.
I'm not sure how long it's gonna take.
You're not sure. Right now, I'm not too sure about you.
I'm sorry, chef.
Stop. Do me one big favor. Off out of here.
I originally thought this next chef was going to be a bottom tier first boot, but I think there's one major thing that lands him relatively high, with that being Steven from season 9. As per usual, he had a bad signature dish and bad service, and to make things worse, he refused to accept his failures and thought Ramsey was in the wrong, making it all that more embarrassing. However, while I'm sure he got some help from Will, it was implied that he was able to get all the appetizers out, and it was the entrees that would ultimately get the kitchen shut down. So yeah, while it's not much, it is a somewhat decent positive on Steven's end, and maybe had he not tried to do too much or kept his mouth shut, he could have even survived.
Sorry, bro. No offense. I'm gonna call it Steven as number one.
No, listen. I'm a team player. Gina was burning fish left and right. At least I fed some people out. Did they feed any entrees? No, big zero.
These next couple of chefs here are chefs that were obviously not great, but could, or in some cases, should have survived the first elimination. And at number 9, I have Sarah from season 5. For some positives, her signature dish wasn't bad at all, as it tasted good, but the presentation was bad, likely a 3-point dish in a modern season. And while yeah, I don't think you can argue she had the worst service on the blue team that night, in retrospect, I think we can all agree she wouldn't have been nearly as big of a train wreck as Seth, and it would have been interesting to see what she could have done with a second chance.
I want to undo the damage that I've done tonight. You saw me at my worst. I want to change that. I up tonight, plain and simple. Striking out the first time off the bat is very, very demoralizing. I feel very humbled right now.
Another forgettable first boot, despite being on the recent season, is Charlene from Hell's Kitchen Battle of the Ages. The positive for Charlene is obviously her good signature dish, and the fact that while her service was bad, it wasn't a train wreck night like other first boots, especially when you factor in it wasn't just her that failed on the meats, Billy did as well, and it could have just as easily been the boot over her, not to mention that she didn't have a bad punishment pass dish either.
Earth to Charlene.
How long?
15 minutes.
15 minutes, yeah.
15 minutes.
I just don't want to give you a low number.
You don't what?
I was trying to overestimate.
A wrong number.
Yes.
You know, I didn't come all the way out here for one dinner service. I was not taking the initiative, and it was a fatal error.
And number 7 is Mark from season 15, and one of the reasons why I feel the edit famously intentionally ignored him was to make his elimination a bit more understandable, as while he had a bad night on the apps, the fish station was the bigger all-around problem that night with Alan and Kevin at the helm, but I guess since only Kevin was nominated, Ramsey thought sending Mark home would be the more fair move. Again, Mark is no top tier chef or anything, but in retrospect, definitely deserved a second chance compared to Kevin.
Sorry, chef. I wish I could have done better for you.
So do I. Good night.
I came in thinking that I was going to be on top, and here I am, first to be kicked out. Every part of me wishes I could come back tomorrow, you know. It's hard.
Just outside my top 5 is one of my personal favorite first boots in Gaurav. Now maybe my bias is showing here, as yeah, his service was bad, and he had a terrible signature dish, but when you look deeper, the mistakes weren't that bad, as too much pepper and too much of a portion size aren't really that big of mistakes, especially on not like season 12 opening night. It was of course the finger mistake that was his downfall, and while yes it was disgusting, Gaurav himself seems to do this often and not even think twice about it, and say what you will about that, but I can't really fault him too much if he is indeed being serious. And the big thing, he absolutely deserved to survive over Nicole, who literally gave up during service. So yeah, while on the surface you could argue that Gaurav should be a lot lower, I think this is an appropriate ranking for him.
Are you kidding me? You gonna not take my risotto just because I checked the rice and then finally clean my finger with my tongue?
On to the top 5 now, and at number 5 is season 4's first boot in Dominic. And yeah, while I think the top 4 are truly the elites when it comes to first boots in Hell's Kitchen, Dominic is still pretty good despite not showing that much potential. It's just that he simply did not deserve to be the first boot, as Jason had the far worse performance during service, and Dominic's signature dish wasn't that bad compared to certain other chefs that season. So while obviously not a great chef by any means, him being somewhat below average puts him in the top 5 when it comes to Hell's Kitchen first boots.
Being here and being sent home first night is really a heartbreaker. I had an opportunity to work with Chef Ramsey. It was a dream of mine, but that dream was dashed.
To be a great chef, you need passion, creativity, and talent. Dominic had passion, but that was it.
At number 4 is one of, if not the most unlikable first boot in Hell's Kitchen history, but nonetheless, she did show a lot of promise, with that being Tiffany. She arguably had the best signature dish, and was even able to distinguish that Julia's dish had too much pepper in it. And while her service wasn't great, it wasn't a train wreck first boot service by any means, and you could very well make the argument that Joanna should have been booted over her, especially when in most situations, the villainous Tiffany is saved early on to let the drama play out against the underdog Julia.
I know, but I'll tell you when I'm over there. Okay, I'll tell you when. Why are you pushing me? Please don't do this to me now. I'm just under too much stress.
Okay, she was freaking out over me making eggs, and she couldn't see it like I was trying to help her.
Has to be Julie. She works at the Waffle House. I mean, come on.
At number 3 is the first ever boot in Hell's Kitchen history, with that being Carol Ann. I've said this multiple times, but especially when looking at the other first boots in Hell's Kitchen history, Carol Ann just simply isn't a good representation of the first ever one. But hey, at least for her, she's high on my list. Carol Ann literally had the best signature dish in season 1, and was only booted because she failed to help out her team during service. And while that's bad obviously, certainly she did not deserve to go home over Dewberry, who again, was likely kept around for being a bigger personality and donkey for Ramsay to rag on.
You look like you just come out of a restaurant. The presentation's quite simple. It looks appetizing. The chicken's very moist. Actually tastes quite nice.
Thank you.
This lady knows how to cook chicken.
She's not even a chef.
The second best first boot in Hell's Kitchen history is someone who I could honestly see being number 1 for a lot of people based on the reason they were eliminated, with that being Ben in All Stars. And yeah, despite Elise and Amanda clearly having the worst performances, Ramsay eliminated Ben from the winning team as he knew he had no chance to win the competition based on his health. And let's be honest, this would be a convenient excuse to spare the big time characters of Amanda and Elise. The only reason why he's not number 1, I feel, is the person above him performed all around better. But man, while I know he was not long for the game, it's still so sad this happened to Ben.
I knew it was going to be difficult. You know, it's an all-star season. You got a lot of real hungry chefs, and I gave it everything I had, so no regrets whatsoever. I think Chef Ramsay made the right decision.
The best first boot in Hell's Kitchen history comes from season 16, with that being Pat. Pat had a very good signature dish, earned a 3 for the blue team, and while he had a bit of a slow start during service, he's gone on record confirming that he only had 1 bad risotto all night, and would only go home due to the blue team for some reason not wanting to put up Polly, and Ramsay keeping the drum starter of Matt around for ratings. While maybe not the best honor in the world to have, in my opinion, Pat is the best first boot in Hell's Kitchen history.
Give me a jacket. Get out of Hell's Kitchen.
That is all.
Pat, the door's there.
So there you have it guys, my ranking of Hell's Kitchen first boots. Let me know what placements you agree and disagree with in the comments below, along with other ranking videos you'd like to see in the future. Be sure to subscribe and like to support the channel, and until next time, have a good one guys.
Get out of there.